This is Vince Russo's The Brand.
Yo, what is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Wrestling with Tragedy, case number 107, part 2 of the Rick Rude story. Guys, you know who it is. It is the dad bod god, the bald, the beard, the fucking beautiful Piers. And once again, I'm joined by the suntan Superman, the king of the streets, the ECW original, the Colonel, Kingpin, Angel motherfucking Medina, and also that smooth talking silver tongue walking Mr. Two-Man Power Trip, the third man in on Wrestling with Tragedy, John motherfucking Paz. What's up, fellas?
Hello.
What's up? You know, John, I just want to let you know, man, I like I said, I always tell you how I love your voice. I used your voice to intimidate my wife to make me a sandwich, and it really worked. Hey, babe, just like this. Hey, honey, would you buy me and make me a sandwich? And she really got out. So I think that is my new forte. It's kind of like hypnotizing to make women do what they want. Well, hello, honey. You look beautiful today.
That's what it's all about, right?
Yeah. There you go.
I know what's up. Yeah. But what's been going on, guys? It's great to see you guys back again with this week covering off Rick Rude. It's part 2. Very excited.
I can't believe Angel made it. You know what I mean? Because of the tornado over there. So
damn
I'm
right.
Surprised he made it.
Because that shows professionalism, man. I mean, I'll be in a dilapidated house with the walls down, like the fucking wires hanging from the ceiling, but I still have electricity and like a nuclear bomb shelter when it gets hit, you know. But luckily it bounced and missed my house. So, but the neighborhood is pretty trash. So it's kind of crazy out here. So, you know, they even got the military from the military base over here, but you know, so people won't loot. You have to, when you get into town, the next town over, they're making people show ID. You know, you have to have a reason to come into that town. If you're not, if you're not, because there's looting. A lot of people going in there and looting people's residents that were destroyed. So
that's some crazy shit to go fucking do that, bro. That's like
fucking a lot of drug addicts, man. You know, or people. I mean, you know, there's just some slimy people out there.
People see an opportunity to fucking get something for nothing, bro. But before we get started, man, let's cover off a couple of these sponsors. Angel, you want to cover this one?
Yeah, absolutely. For people out there that definitely want to donate money to the Wrestling with Tragedy, because my house was hit by a tornado, please go to sleeps.com and use promo code MWAPOD for 10% off. And that was a joke, everyone out there. But anyway, go to sleeps.com, one of the best websites out there that gives you all the athletes, all the sports accessory needs. You know, definitely check them out. They're definitely one of the greatest things I've ever seen. I love their dirty boxers. They have all kinds of different types of characters on your boxers. You know, I love them. John Paul loves them. Pierce loves them. Definitely go to sleeps.com. Use promo code MWAPOD to get 10% off.
Yeah. Next up, check out that healthvape.com, your healthy vaping alternative. All of their products, no nicotine, no addictive or harmful chemicals. They help restore, give you energy and the boost that you need to get through your day. And they are vitamin infused. Use promo code MWAPOD to get a 10% discount on all your vape and pod products at your final purchase. Guys, get off the cigarettes, get off the durries. This is your way to a healthier lifestyle.
I have a question.
Sure.
What's a durry?
A durry, like a cigarette.
Oh, okay. I didn't know. I thought you guys called them fags.
That before, yeah.
Like England, right? They call them fags or something like that.
Smoking a fag, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I thought that's what you guys call a durry.
Durry. How do you spell that?
Durry. D-U-R-R-Y. Durry.
Durry.
Oh, never heard that for a while. Interesting.
Okay,
you guys have been around the streets for a while. Man, you should know.
I didn't know what I don't smoke. You know, but anyway, man, let's get back on the topic. Today we're going to be talking about part 2 of Ravishing Rick Rude. I mean, there was so much meat on the bone that we couldn't even do it in one episode. We have to do it in 2. John, I mean, tell me, like I said, we were covering a lot about Rick Rude's career. I mean, Sting, the injury with Sting, his world title reign with when he won it over Ric Flair, you know, his double appearance from Raw to WCW, how that was a earth-shattering, kind of like confusing for the fans how this was possible. He had a beard, he didn't have a beard. I mean, but now we're going to just talk about Oh, I mean, also he bouncing with and going to school with Kurt Hennig and so many other, um, other athletes in the same freaking high school that all became successful in professional wrestling. But now we're going to talk about what we are going to talk about.
Well, I wanted to just talk about before we kind of got into his death, because we didn't even talk about really what happened there and him dying at age of 40. But his career obviously got cut short. But if you look at it, he didn't have like that long of a career. But to me, it always seemed like it was much longer. I guess because guys in that era, they always kind of stick out more. But 82 to 94, so basically 12 or 13-year career, it seemed like he wrestled for 30, just because in your memory and in your mind how great these guys were and what a legend he was. And you come from that WWF era and that Hogan era and that golden era in the 80s. It's like those guys live on forever. I don't, just kind of surprising looking at it, thinking like, well, I figured he wrestled for like 30 years, but really it was only 12 or 13 years, which is a nice run, but not as long as you would think.
And just curiosity, John, I always wanted to bring this up, but years ago when Sting and Ric Flair had this feud, but it was the Black Scorpion, and I heard rumors at that time when I was younger that it was going to be Rick Rude and that was going to make an appearance, but then it was Ric Flair, so I thought it was like either fiction or he pulled out. So can you clarify, or have you ever heard anything like that? Like I said, I was younger, so I heard that story, so I didn't know if that was true or not.
I've heard the Rude name thrown out there, but it doesn't make sense timeline wise because he was in WWF up until the summer of 1990, and they were building up Black Scorpion for almost the whole year of 90. Like, I mean, they were building Black Scorpion up for months, and obviously it could have been him at Starcade that year because in 1990 he would have been free of contract, but it was never supposed to be him. Very, very oddly, they thought like Al Perez might work in that role. I don't know why they thought that was good or would work or be over. Flair was like the backup plan, but it was never really supposed to be Rude. It probably could have been, and they could have somehow made sense out of it. They almost teased that it was Ultimate Warrior. If you're listening to a lot of the stuff that what he was saying, but they were thought
Okay.
for some reason that Al Perez was going to be, and which is insane to think like that would have been a good idea, or like that would have worked, but
Well,
definitely not. But it wasn't supposed to be Rude.
the only reason I thought it was because if you, I remember like it was yesterday because every time the Black Scorpion made an appearance, his physique looked totally different,
Yeah.
and you could tell that it was a little bit different. Like every time I saw him, so when I heard the story that it was going to be Rude, I just thought it was some type of negotiation deal until the final result that they would have got him, and then of course he makes an appearance. You know what I mean? Like they
Yep.
were using different characters
Yeah.
until the deal happened. So that's why I was like, oh wow, I can't believe it's gonna be Rick Rude until it was Ric Flair. So I thought it would change because the deal fell through, and that's how Ric Flair became. Because it was stupid. To me, it was more stupid because it's just so obvious it was gonna be Ric Flair, kind of sort of like, well, I hope it's not Ric Flair
Yeah.
because it's kind of cheesy how they build it up,
Yep.
So
And it
that's the
made no
only thing.
sense either. Like the guy, he's known him forever. Like, like they go back all the way. And then you're
Yeah.
like, I guess Al Perez, but not really. Doesn't make sense. But everything that they were saying, like, added up to the Ultimate Warrior. Like they
Mhm.
trained together. Like all, like nothing made sense for it. But obviously, a year later, Havoc '91, Rude shows up in that almost same Black Scorpion-esque black outfit, except for you could see his face pretty clearly. But he was the Phantom.
Yeah.
Havoc
Yeah.
'91, which was interesting, but because you knew it was Rude, he does the Rude Awakening, but it's just funny. It's like they, for some reason, love that horrible tight black outfit with the horrible mask. Because remember, Flair had the horrible mask
Oh,
and
you can see
outfit.
his nose sticking out, like you could tell
Yeah,
there
right.
was no the way to
Yeah,
hide it.
You can see the
Yeah.
moustache, bro. That moustache was a dead
yeah,
giveaway, remember?
yeah.
And but didn't he do the same debut, like a similar debut in ECW, which I think was more of like a piss take of that, right?
Yeah, yeah,
But
he almost had the machines type of mask with
yeah,
Yeah.
the lines and stuff.
right.
But I mean, you could tell
But
it
even
was
that was so obvious it was him. Yeah, I think they were making
I think
fun of
that was a piss take,
WCW
yeah.
there. Yeah, yeah,
yeah. I just didn't think they gave it a. I mean, if you're gonna make somebody hide in a costume, you got to definitely make it look so you can't tell it's him. So
yep.
it is a big surprise. So I don't think they really put any effort. I think it was like you said, it was a joke. But anyway, I didn't mean to fall off track. I just heard that rumor and I wanted to see if that was true or not. So I would have popped if it was, but
It would have been
well, it
awesome.
never came to fruition, so it doesn't even matter.
That
But
would have been
anyway,
awesome actually if he was, because Flair was a little just too obvious and too predictable, and they kind of were going back to the well again of Flair and Sting, which they would do for another 11, 12 years after that anyway. But it's just weird that they went back to that well in '90 after they feuded in '89, and you know what I mean, like or just ended really the feud at Great American Bash 90, and then they just continue it until Starrcade. I don't know, like, it would have been awesome if it was Rude or somebody else.
Well, and just curiosity, I mean, knowing about Rude and through the years of how his physique changed, and we were talking about it in a previous episode in regards about his steroid use, but we didn't go into depth how much, and like, I mean, I know we don't know how much, but it looked like he invested a lot of money because his physique has changed drastically, like just shredded to like, I mean, when he won the world title from Ric Flair, I mean, he was big, but not as shredded as he was when he was in the WWEF at the time. But I mean, do you know any stories in regards of like how much he was taking? Because you said he was a guinea pig, and they're like, "Hey, take this," and he was like, "Fuck it, I'll take it." So I
Yeah.
mean, what other stories have you heard? Anything about that?
Well, a lot of the guys were saying, obviously they're all on some sort of gimmicks or they're on some sort of steroids in that era. So it's not just him, like you single him out, but he would be the guy who'd be like, oh, there's Andro, or for just an example, or like something new. It's like, oh, you got this. And he's like, oh, hell yeah, I'll try it. He's a workout freak anyway. I mean, you could just tell by his body. You don't just get like that from just, taking the stuff.
Eating
Obviously,
protein.
obviously he's a workout nut, like, and supposedly strong as like an ox as far as just being able to lift and I know it looks like he's kind of like skinny lean, but apparently he was just an animal, just strong as hell, tough as hell. But being the guinea pig, he would probably try everything and do everything and see what works, what doesn't. This is great, this is not great. Like, oh, this steroid is good or that's not good. But I've heard that he did a lot. So
Well, and don't get me wrong. I mean, yeah, I wasn't singling them out because I was on the gimmicks too. I'm not
mhm.
going to sit here and I say I didn't. I used to take things that had dogs on it, and cows, and I'm like, oh, this shit looks like it works. I'll take it, So, but yeah, I mean, that was part of the era, man. I mean, that was part of the job that you had to get to your physical, peak and stuff. I mean, yeah, it was just part of the business, man. I mean, everybody was jacked up. I mean, if you were not, you were fat. You know what I mean? Either way, there was
and
only
I
two
guess
options.
and I guess you need somebody, which is unfortunate to say or crazy to say, but you need somebody to almost like test this stuff. Be like, is this good? Is it not? And why not like one of the best in shape guys? He could kind of tell you right then and there, like this sucks, didn't do anything for me. Oh, this is great. This gave me energy, gave me a boost. Look at my arms. Like WWF, it's like he's got like mountains. You know what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
he would do his little awesome pose, and like little mountains would pop up over his muscles. Like, I mean, he was had like muscles on muscles. So unfortunately, I guess you need guys to be like, well, this shit works. You know what I mean? And then, Warrior would try it or whoever, Perfect, or whoever would kind of follow suit after he said, like, damn, this stuff is good.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Pierce, what about you? I mean, what do you think about his steroid use?
I mean, look, I think it was a lot of guys around that time were using steroids and abusing them for a long time. And you look at the effects of that generation, and of the guys that went through that, but also like that was the time, man. Everyone was on gimmicks back then. Everyone was trying to be the biggest and baddest motherfucker they could be because back then, the bigger you were, the bigger the paycheck that you're gonna make. So I think it's like, man, like a lot of these guys, and I think Rude involved in this did what he had to do to be able to make as much money as he can.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong. The bigger you are, you're not going to make as much money because remember Baracus, that guy was garbage. So, and he was
No,
shredded to the gills.
yeah, but you know
Van
what? Like Rick
Hammer,
Rude,
garbage.
yeah, but you know what? Rick Rude wasn't. The Road Warriors weren't. Kurt Hennig, you know what I mean? Hulk Hogan, well, Hulk Hogan was whatever, but you know what I mean? Like all these guys, they looked $1 million, and throughout the 80s and 90s, that was what Vince wanted. Vince wanted these big, jacked up looking motherfuckers. And like I've spoken to guys, man, like Lowrider, he told us, man, like when he was like tried out for WWE years ago, and this was like early 2000s, they said, hey man, you gained 30 pounds, bro, we'll sign you straight away. And he's like, well, how the fuck do I do that? I'm eating like a motherfucker. Well, there's a way you can gain 30 pounds. You just need to go figure that out. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I'm
And they
not
probably
telling
don't
you.
mean 30 pounds of fat either. They're like,
Oh,
wink, wink, like, gain 30 pounds of muscle.
Well, you got to
but
do
you know
what you
what I
got to
mean? Like,
do.
Yeah.
but that's the thing. A lot of guys probably went, you know what? I gotta fucking get it. It's the same with injuries, bro. You talk about injuries, Angel. Like, Angel, are you okay? Yeah, I'm fine. I'm fine. You just got to keep pushing through because, like, you give up that spot, you might not get it back.
No, and absolutely. I mean, like I said, I mean, it's just the bigger you get, the more money you get. But again, it affects your ability to move smoothly in the ring. So you got to like balance it out. You know, I mean, it's just. But anyway, but I was just wondering in regards about Rude because again, he was like, I mean, ridiculously jacked, and I didn't know he was investing a lot of money. You know, like bodybuilders invest thousands and thousands of dollars in their supplement intake. You know, so I just was wondering if you heard any rumors of how much coin he was dropping. So yeah, I mean, yeah, he
You know
probably
what's
was
great
dropping a
though
lot.
about Brackus? You know what's great about him? He's on the
Garbage.
cover of all those like workout magazines.
Oh yeah.
So Vince loves the guy immediately. Like he's like Dr. Tom always tells me, like he was so popular like when they went to different places because everyone recognized him for magazines and stuff. Like, oh shit, this guy was, Mr. Whatever, Mr. Universe, whatever the hell he was in the workout world. So he was on so many covers, everybody knew who he was. So when Vince sent Dr. Tom, Brackus, The Rock, and Mark Henry, Brack is the only one that didn't make it. He is the one that they thought was going to make it above the other two, which is nuts to think. But because of his look and his physique and the way Vince looks at the guys, that's so funny to think about. It's like, okay, Brackus is really the only one that didn't make it. And that was the one that Vince had his eye on the most. Crazy.
Yeah, because Vince is probably reading those workout magazines going,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, maybe.
Yeah, but
He likes that body type for sure.
Yeah, Baracus, I mean, I remember him in ECW. I mean, watching him from a distance, I mean, he was garbage, you know. And again, I'm not knocking the guy, but it's his technique, his style, the way he moved. He was just like he was walking in mud, you know. He just didn't have any type of natural ability in regards in the ring.
Well, that just shows you, right? You can't just be a big steroid guy and just be thrown into wrestling if you don't really know wrestling, even though you look great. You have to be able to wrestle a little bit.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. There are people who are genetically or gifted in a way where they can soak up that knowledge like a sponge. I mean, there's certain athletes that can do that. He just wasn't one of them. You know,
definitely not.
But again, Rick Rude, again, tremendous athlete, strong as an ox. You know, great talent in the ring. But regardless about that, I feel bad that he passed away, and then all those rumors that he died of testicular cancer, and that's what killed him. But you're saying it was, I mean, of course, that was proven. There was more of a drug overdose that took him out. So I mean, it's just crazy, man.
When he died, they originally thought he suffered from heart failure, but when they did an autopsy, the report showed he died from an overdose of mixed medications. And at the time, Rude was training for an in-ring return. He had he was taking gamma hydroxybutyrate, butyrate. I can't pronounce it probably, but that's basically GHB. So he was doing a lot of that, and he was also doing another one called where is it? Sorry, narco. Oh no, and he had a narcolepsy prevention drug in his system as well.
I don't know what that does, but I know what GHB does. So
that prevents you from falling asleep. I guess he had some sort of narcolepsy where he would just fall asleep out of nowhere. There's like no warning, you just fall asleep. So I guess he was taking a drug to not fall asleep.
Well, I knew what narcolepsy is, but sometimes you find a drug that's works for something, but then you can find like, oh man, this gives me a high, this gives me a buzz.
Yeah. So like again, he's not using it for I got you.
Well, I mean, a narcolepsy, so he's taking a drug to keep him awake. So
yep.
You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, it's counterproductive because GHB is supposed to get you to sleep. The reason when GHB was created back in the days was from bodybuilders because when you fell into a deep or REM sleep, it releases growth hormones in your system to make you more bigger. So that was the reason that was originally invented. And of course, Pierce, you found out that you was able to put it in women's drinks and knock them out, but that was a different story. If you were using it for the wrong reasons. But it was sold over the market. There was I forgot, I was buying it. I forgot it was called either sleep water or something like that, and bro just calmed me out sleeping, but it brought up the growth hormone level to a higher peak to make you heal right. It was good shit, but again,
the thing is like some athletes have used GHB or its analogs because of being marketed as an anabolic agent, but there has been no evidence that it builds muscle or even improves performance. Like, there's no documented evidence that it's actually been able to,
Let,
do that. So guys are guys doing it just because they think mental, like in their mind, okay, this is going to help me look bigger and stuff like that. Because there's no scientific proof.
yeah, but again, pro wrestlers is not about. Look, I totally understand when you're like, there's no scientific proof. There's no scientific proof.
No, I'm
But
not saying because of wrestling. I'm just putting it out there. I'm not
no.
saying.
But if you tell a wrestler you eat a bar of shit, this is gonna make you grow, they're just gonna take it as face value and fucking take it. Because anything that will
Yeah.
get you huge, they're gonna take it. And then later they go, this shit don't work. Just like Rick Rude. Hey, take this, see if it works. This is garbage. This is shit. I mean, we're just the guinea pig. So when bodybuilders created GHB, that was the story that was going around, that it would help you, release growth hormones and and stuff. So that's what it is. Everybody was taking it because, like I said, I was taking it, and it knocked me the fuck out, you know.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, even for GHP, they were saying that it used to be like a euphoriant and believed to be kind of like an aphrodisiac. So, taking in a certain amount of dose, like a small dose of it, starting in like the 90s, people would take it. Then the slang term for GHB came in, including liquid ecstasy, lollipops, liquid X, or whatever it is.
No, I never
You know,
felt that. You ever took GHB?
nah,
No, I'll tell you exactly how it felt.
Days.
I'm not even throwing nobody. I mean, I'm not saying I'm throwing no on the bus. I'm not gonna tell you who gave it to me, but I took
on
it.
the
I took
Come
it,
on.
and it was a capful. And they were like, "Yeah, you just be careful. Don't take too much." And then I'm like, "Ah, fuck it, it's bullshit." Whatever. I took careful. I'm like, this ain't gonna do shit. Got in the car, not even 20 minutes. Fell asleep. All I heard was, yo, we're at 7-Eleven. Yo, wake up. We're at 7-Eleven. You want to get something to eat? Let's go. As soon as I opened my eyes, I felt like I was like, man, yeah. Like I had like a six-pack. Like that buzz, like, man, I feel
Yeah.
good. Yeah, brother. That's all it was. It was not like, DeVito, you look kind of sexy. That never gave. I never felt any type of those symptoms. I just felt like I just had quite a few beers, and I just felt nice. I just felt like relaxed, and that's all it was.
That cozy feeling.
That cozy, walking around like, yeah, okay, I'm hungry.
That cozy feeling like you got John Paul's money, right?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So just like when Vince held that money when he's waving the fan in the hundreds in his face. But yeah, that's how it felt for me. Again, it might be different for everybody else, but I never had that reaction. But anyway, but it's contradictory. You're taking one that puts you to sleep, and then you take another taking it at the same time to keep you awake. So either
But
he's trying to get the growth hormones to work while he's so he won't fall asleep.
you know
I
what?
don't know.
Maybe it was like just because it was in his system, bro. Because it's got to think, man. Like when you're on the road as much as you guys were back in that day, Angel. You know what I mean? Like you get back to the hotel. You know what I mean? You've just done a show in front of X amount of thousands of people. You've got that adrenaline still pumping. You've got that energy still pumping. You know what I mean? You go lay down. Fuck, I can't. Well, for some people, fuck, I can't sleep. Okay, you know what? I got to be up in 4 hours. I need something just to take the edge off, get to sleep. Bang, next day. Oh, fuck, I've only had 4 hours sleep. Have a bit of this narcolepsy medication. All right, man, that's cool. That gets me going. Better than a cup of hot coffee. Let's fucking roll. So,
Yeah, that's weird. I never got like that because when I was on Ring Crew, dude, I was cursing up a storm because we got wrestling, then tearing down the ring, putting the ring in the truck, then fucking you thinking like, oh, I got 3 hours to get to the hotel, and then you get to the hotel, and then dumbass tells you like before you get to the hotel, literally like you can see the hotel, and he drives right by like, yo man, I want to go to Waffle House and get some food. God damn it, and then you go to Waffle House and you sit there for an hour and a half, fucking you eat and then go back to the hotel and then argue about who's getting the bed, who's getting the fucking box spring. You break down the bed, and then you take a shower. And by that time, it's like 4:30 in the morning. You have to be up by 8 to get to the next to the building to set up the ring. I was never like, you know what? I need some gimmicks. I was just always cursing. I was always hot, So again, everybody's different. I'm a different beast. It's just that I just never had that itch to have something to keep me going, I had Rip Fuel or some fucking hydroxy cut to like get my blood going. I don't even think they had energy drinks back then. John, did they? I can't remember.
They weren't popular if they did.
I can't remember if we did.
Yeah.
I know they have Rift Fuel. They had stuff like that to like get you like a little bit excited, but they didn't have none of that. But anyway, I keep going off track. But anyway, keep going, Pierce.
So yeah, I mean, I think having those different types of medication, the chemicals that he had in his body, abusing stuff of long terms as well isn't going to help, and that sort of shit will affect your heart. Put into consideration as well, years of steroid abuse, and who knows what else, like hereditary defects that he, hereditary not defects, but hereditary stuff that he has from along his family tree. So, man, to dying at 40 years of age, bro, and that's one of the things. Like I'm about to turn 40, and I look at it and I just go, "Fuck, man!" It scares the shit out of me. Because you look back at a lot of wrestling and even a lot of celebrities or whatever, and people dying, at 40 years of age or just under 40, and it's like, man, just a waste of a life,
Big time. Crazy that being that young, like, especially because I'm going to be 40, you're going to be 40. It's like, wow,
Yeah.
that's insanely young. You know what
Now,
I mean? And a lot of guys are in their prime at 40. You know what I mean? As far as wrestling.
So just curiosity, John. I heard a story that Honky Tonk Man and Jake Roberts thought that Rude committed suicide. I heard that
Honky loves
story.
that story. Yeah.
Now, it had to do something about, like, please correct me if I'm wrong, something about getting his balls and penis cut off because he was injecting Viagra into it.
What?
So I didn't know if that's like a fact or
Supposedly, that's like, I don't know. I feel like those I love Jake and I love Honky Tonk Man, but man, they love salacious, like hearing like tidbit of a story and turning it into like something else. But supposedly he would inject, and I don't know if this is true at all, but he would inject his dick with like Viagra, Cialis, whatever it is. Like he would inject it, and then eventually it stopped working. So I didn't hear like it fell off or chopped off. I heard that it stopped working, and
that he
that
was going to
like,
get it chopped off or cut off, whatever.
yeah, because he was so mad that it wasn't working. But I haven't heard that from anybody. Not saying that those two aren't reliable and would make something up, but like they like to be a little salacious, and sometimes they're working you too when you're interviewing them and
Yeah.
stuff. Sometimes they're working you. There's no doubt about that. So you have to keep that in mind too. So they may just be doing that to kind of like, oh, see how far I can take this story. But I heard that he was injecting and it wasn't working, and that it was like pissing him off. But obviously, we don't know that for a fact. We don't know that to be true. So I've only heard it from those two guys.
I mean, yeah. I mean, they're known to never let the truth get in the way of a good story. Let's face it. You know what I mean? Like, dude, like, what sort of guy's going to inject fucking, like, dude, to put a needle to your fucking dick, bro? That is like, you were like,
never
you have
happened,
to seriously go back and like look at your position in life. You know what I mean? Like, fuck that.
I don't know. It's pretty crazy story. I kind of put it in the category of like, I'm not going to really believe that. Like their workers will work kind of thing. But I don't know. You never know. Rude was doing all this other stuff, being a guinea pig and testing all this other stuff. You never know. Maybe he tried to do that or experiment. Like who knows? We just don't know. But I don't want to say for sure that it happened because they could be working us even telling that story.
But I mean, the thing is that even Kim Patera kind of confirmed it. So
Ken Patera?
Yeah, that he confirmed that.
He's
about
another
Rude.
guy, though. He's another guy. I don't know. Sometimes.
And I'm not saying it's not true. It's just that these guys have been around them. These guys, it's just like me being around DeVito, or even New Jack. And I tell you a story, it's gonna be like, man, but he was there. He knew him. He ate with him, And again, I'm not saying it's true, but I wonder why would they say something like that? I mean, that's kind of like very crazy a crazy story to say, yeah, he inject. It's just too crazy. It has to be true. Like if it was something more like, yeah, he was doing coke or, he had like 10 pounds of coke on the table and he caught a heart attack, like crazy thing. But when somebody comes out of nowhere and says, well, yeah, he injected his dick with some form of Viagra gimmick. And then they said that he might have to get his dick and balls chopped off. And he committed suicide. I'm like, man, I'll be like, where you come up with a story with that? I mean, there's more easier stories than that one. That's why it just kind of threw me off why that story was like so, why that story was circulating in the locker room or in the wrestling world. So that's why I was just wondering about that.
Crazy story.
That's Nah, bro, that's just a whacked out fucking
Are
story.
you saying?
Bro.
And just curious, John, you saying Ken Patera is just kind of a little out there?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Mentally,
Yeah.
I don't know him like that.
He's a good guy and stuff, but he could be a little crazy with some of the stories. And obviously, him snapping in the '80s and kind of not ruining his career, but kind of ruining his career for a little bit. I mean, that kind of shows you he's a little bit out there, a little crazy.
Yeah, I mean, of course, if you throw a fucking boulder through a McDonald's window,
Yeah, and beating up cops and stuff. Yeah.
yeah. So that's a different story. But
You never
yeah,
know
man.
though
Like I
if
said,
those guys are like working like the interviewer, or they know they're having fun, and they know Rude passed away, so Rude's not gonna like be mad at them, or he's not gonna call them up and say what the fuck, man, or they're not gonna get their ass kicked by Rude because he passed away. So you could probably have a little fun with some of those interviews.
I
I
think it's
gotcha.
probably just having a little bit of a laugh and just like these guys going, hey, you know what? It'd be funny to say this.
And
Kind of.
And he had the reputation of being experimental with a lot of stuff, so they were like, oh, there's this grain of truth there to the story, so they could probably push it.
I found it interesting that Rude was like an arm wrestling champion as well back in 1983. Like this guy is like, what a random thing to get into doing is like arm wrestling. But I suppose
Well, that
like
was really popular in the '80s, though. Very
yeah.
popular. Come on, Over the Top. Remember Sylvester Stallone? Great movie.
Let's
Yes.
do it.
Yes.
No, so John, again, you're a plethora of knowledge. So this is something I always heard about, and this is from one of the former. And again, I guess it's true because PN News, one of the former Baldies,
Yeah. PN.
we were talking about like he was accused in the '90s during a British tour for stealing, and he had a scuffle with Rude. Have you ever heard that?
I've heard that they fought. I didn't know it was over stealing, though.
Yeah, they apparently he was accused
Wow.
of stealing money from the locker room in Britain on a British tour.
What,
So
Rude
I mean,
was?
no, fucking PN was
PN News.
supposedly, apparently, hypothetically, you know. So I was always wondering because I was like, man, because you walked away, because since Rude was such a badass, I didn't believe it because. It's like, man, Rude would have just like destroyed you. And again, I'm not saying Pianos can't hold his own. I mean, he's a great guy. It was just funny, like, oh, okay. And you just walked away from a fight with ravishing Rick Rude and all the stories I heard. So I just wanted to
Yeah, I
know
heard
if
they
you
got
heard
it. I
it.
heard they got in a scuffle. I didn't remember the backstory of PN News possibly stealing, or they thought he was stealing. But I just heard I knew they got in a scuffle. I thought it just got broken up. I didn't know. I don't think PN News got the upper hand though, as far as what I've heard.
Yeah, and there's no evidence that he did steal money. It was just that's what it was. They spread around and then they got into a scuffle. So
But
He's
was
probably
Rude known?
the easiest
Was
guy
Rude
to
known as?
blame, right?
But was Rude known to be like a badass tough guy that would beat the shit out
yeah,
of people? Yeah.
he was
Oh
legit a
yeah.
badass.
Oh yeah. All the guys would say how tough he was and don't mess with him and stuff. There was a great match. I forget if he's wrestling Mark Starr or who the heck he's wrestling. The guy is a little stiff with him in WCW. Rude
Yeah.
literally just gives him a little right cross. And the guy's like on wobbly legs, and Rude just literally just joke around, kind of like, "Hey, slow down, just pop the guy." And the guy, you could tell, got screwed up. So then Rude just starts really wailing on him. But
Oh, shit.
the guy, I forget, it might have been Mark Starr. I'm trying to remember who was in the match, but the guy by accident kind of hit Rude too hard, so Rude basically just legit just kicks the shit out of the guy.
Yeah, I mean Rick Rude, yeah, legit tough guy. I remember seeing a clip and I can't find it anymore, but I saw it like on YouTube by accident where he fucking dropped a knee in WWE on somebody's fucking like on his back or on the back of his neck. He was dropping a knee, not on purpose. It was just part of the gimmick, and he fucking
Yeah.
and he fucking landed on him, and the guy was out. And you could tell like he was like shit. I fucked up that spot.
Yeah.
And stuff. But I mean, when you give your body, man, you give your body, yeah. I mean, you trust in the guy not to fucking knock your teeth out, and then you get clipped, especially when you just relaxed, and then you get drilled. Then that's the sad part, man. You just get, and you can't say shit, especially if you're on an undercard,
Yeah, and especially with Rude, what are you going to do? He's going to kick the shit out of you regardless. You know what I mean? You can't really do anything.
Well, I mean, if you lose your temper, I mean, look at Chris Jericho and fucking Goldberg. I mean, or Chris Jericho arguing with Brock. They were going to get into a fight. I mean, once you get that heat, you get hot. You fuck it. It is what it is. I'm not going to let this guy disrespect me, even if he kicks my ass. You know, so
Yep.
I mean, you never
But
know.
that's just a fucking stupid thing. Is like Brock Lesnar's like the fucking baddest motherfucker on the planet.
Yeah,
But Jericho's tough, man.
Jericho's tough, but I think
yeah.
Jericho's like
Oh, he would take meaning like he would take an ass kicking and not care. You know what I mean? He would go at the guy knowing he's gonna lose and just say, I don't fucking care. You know?
Yeah, man, you just gotta take your licks, man. Because if you
Yeah.
don't in this business, they're gonna walk all over you. So, I mean, this is back in the '90s, man. If you don't stand your ground, you know, then you're gonna be fucking punked. So, and I'm not saying that happens. It's just that mental mind, you can't like, man, fuck that. You know, you got to step to the plate, even if you get your ass kicked. You know, you gotta, you know, it's like that song. You're gonna remember my name after this fight, regardless if you whip my ass. You're gonna remember who the fuck you fought. You know, you're gonna know you've been
what
in the
song was
fight.
that? Check that out.
Shit, it's that rap song. 75% pain, 100% pleasure, 50%. Everybody's gonna know my name.
Remember the name.
Remember the name, yeah. But it's like a small lyric in there, you know. So, but yeah, that's why I brought up. But anyway, but regardless, Brew was a badass. Rude was somebody that you didn't want to fuck with. Guy was a fucking beast. He was a train. But again, I mean, like I said, Pierre News, that was a story I heard, and I mean, we were talking about it, but I just didn't believe it. You know, like when he mentioned it, you know, it was just like, okay, whatever. So you fought Rick Rude.
Have you ever seen? I don't even know if it's still there. It's an awesome Twitter account, and this guy took every back body drop, you know, or it's really atomic drop. So I think it was literally called Rick Rude Takes Atomic Drops, and it was every atomic drop of Rick Rude's career, like showing how good of a seller he was. So, you know, Sting would give him the atomic drop. You know, he'd do that thing with his legs where he's wobbling his leg. Have you ever seen that account? It's so good.
I just found it.
Yeah, I seen it a while ago. You know, that's pretty.
Just shows you like this big tough guy who's, you know, stiffing guys. He's getting fights in the back. You know, he's doing all sorts of stuff. He's an arm wrestling champion, but he took his craft pretty seriously and was like, okay, I'm going to get this guy over. I'm going to do some awesome selling, sometimes overselling, but in the context of him, it actually made sense and it was perfect. And it got the crowd into it. Like when Sting would give him the atomic drop and then he would turn him around and give another one, he would do the thing where he's holding his legs, you know, holding his dick and doing the wobbly leg thing. I mean, the crowd went nuts. So it got over big time.
Interesting. Yeah, I can see. Yeah, I mean, like Rick Rude sold very well. I mean, the guy was a hell of a seller. You know, it's just like I said. I mean, at a certain point, he got limited because of his back. I think he was also having back issues prior to that Sting issue. Like, you know, like I have a little aches and pains in the back. So I think what happened with him and Sting, that kind of just like took it to the next level of his injuries and stuff, and he wasn't healing as fast enough. But anyway, yeah, I mean, he was a hell of a seller, man, taking bumps like crazy. You know.
But you know what? They said that at the time of his death, he was training for a comeback. But where was he going to be going in wrestling? Had there been any talk of him?
Oh, the negotiations.
Well, he was in WCW, so he wanted to wrestle for WCW.
No, he was actually he left WCW in April.
But that's where he wanted to wrestle because him and Bischoff got in a fight. Yeah, that's where he wanted or thought he was going to wrestle. I should say.
He thought it was the London contract, right? He wanted.
But was he in negotiations or was he just training just to get like ready to say, hey, I'm ready.
I'm good to go.
Look at my body. I'm like jacked to the gills or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, because his resume already speaks for itself. So
I think that he thought that he was going to wrestle for WCW. That wasn't happening because Bischoff wasn't paying off the Lloyds of London thing. So he probably thought maybe ECW, maybe WWE. Obviously, ECW, nobody could be able to afford the Lloyds of London thing. Maybe he thought there would be a way around it, but he was definitely training for a comeback and saying, hey, look at me. I'm sure WWE and WCW were his two top targets. He thought he was going to be wrestling for WCW, but obviously Bischoff put a nix to that.
Yeah, I don't think he would have been able to go to the ECW because we would not be able to afford him.
No, hell no.
Yeah, maybe for one or two spots. But like, how long was he in ECW for? He was like there for only just a cup of coffee, right?
Yeah, he was only there for a short stitch, you know.
And it's funny though, when he was in ECW, he's giving rude awakenings. He's in the ring doing spots. I mean, he's moving around. He looked great physically.
Yeah, and he was doing commentary with Joey Styles at the time. So I figured it was going to take. I mean, it was before I got there, but I remember watching it and like, okay, they're going to take it to the next level. And then, and like I said, ECW was the catapult to get back to where you need to go, because you know, Rey Mysterio, Juventud Guerrero, you know, Eddie Guerrero, you know,
Austin, Sid,
Austin, fucking
Foley.
D. Malenko, all those motherfuckers. I'm not saying they weren't talented, but it's since you have no place to go, you just go there and just like, man, you'll polish your craft, basically. So I would have loved to see him there to see what he could have done. He could have been a manager. He could have been anything.
I think him versus Shane Douglas would have been a really good program, to be honest.
Yeah, that would have been great.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean,
Shane, I think at that time in '99 was on top of his game. I think that was like 99, 2000 was Shane's, like, what was it in ECW? 98, 99, I think, was when Rude came in. I think that time was when Shane was probably at his best, at his peak.
Oh, Shane was ridiculously jacked. He was still, he was crisp. He was sharp. I mean, yeah, he was at his peak. I mean, he was peak condition, and the guy was awesome. He still is, but I mean, like I said, this is where he was at his best. From every standpoint.
That would have been great for him. Like if he gets some wins over Rick Rude, for the resume, that would have been a nice little tip of the cap there.
No, absolutely, But like I said, he was training. I mean, I wish I knew that he was in negotiations. Like I said, he was probably just preparing to get physically fit to show him that he's just jacked to the gills and look like he could come back into the ring. I just wish there was a way for us to. I feel bad that he died because I'm just curious of what that would have, would have flourished into, WCW or WWE, and if he did survive and then he would have stayed there until WCW folded, what would have transpired? Because how would he been when WCW folded?
42,
yeah.
Yeah, he would have still
not
been
old at all. Yeah,
and he would have been into, WWE, of course, and then, I mean, that would have been a whole different level.
But you know what, man? You got to think 2001. Let's look at who was in WWE then. Who was on the top of the food chain? Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Rock, The Undertaker, Triple H. Those were your your main group. Chuck in Mankind as well. Those were your top 5 guys in WWE, WWF. In the early 2000 or 2099. If he was to come back there, would he have been put in a main event spot, or would he have gone into that mid card spot?
Oh man, look at the
going up
motherfucker's
against
pedigree.
Jericho. Yeah, I know, but I'm saying, how would they have used him in a match against like the main event talent, like a Mick Foley, Triple H, Steve Austin, Rock? I think they would have had incredible matches. But do you think WWE at the time would have used him as a main eventer, or would he have been, hey, let's put him with Jericho and against Jericho and Mr. Hughes, let's put him against the Big Show? Do you think they would have had him as a mid-card performer, or do you think that they would have put him in? Because look at the time. They brought back British Bulldog, and he kind of got a little bit of a main event push, but not really. And then he sort of just got in the mid-card there. Do you think that that's the way that Rude would have gone down as well?
Well, there's 2 factors here. One, you got to look at it from 2 perspectives. If when WCW folded and he was still around, then Vince could have fired him just like he did Jeff Jarrett, because the way he did him wrong in the fucking, making those 2 appearances. That's a possibility. He could have been like, you're fired, just like he got rid of Jarrett and all that stuff just to give revenge. So that could have happened, and then he would have not been working. Or, they might have used him. I say, like, it would have been great that he would have been there. Yeah, they would have used him. But due to the fact that what happened, I always see Vince firing him just to say, see, you fuck me, I fuck you. So I could see that happening. But from a physical standpoint, yeah, they would have fucking used him. Would he been a mid-carder? I don't know, man. I think he would have had some good storylines with Austin and good storylines with The Rock. If they got the good team writing the script, but I don't know, John, what do you think? You think he would have got fired because of what he did? Like he would have not been able to come through?
I don't know. Being on both shows at once, you never know Vince's mindset at that point. He might have just fired him and then brought him back eventually, because it seems like if it's guy's business, if the guy's money, he'll work with him. But it just seems like with the way what they did with Bulldog, what they did with Perfect, Vince had always thought of, like, when those guys came back, like, they're a little bit older. We'll do upper mid card. We'll give them a nice little push. Like Perfect had a great run at Royal Rumble 02. We'll give him a nice little thing, and then we'll bring him back down the card. So it seems like that was his MO for guys like Rick Rude. And even though they're great and main eventers other places and world champion, intercontinental champion, I feel like he would have been like, okay, upper mid card, maybe on Raw or SmackDown, he'll lose to Austin The Rock, and then we'll push him back down. It just seemed like that was was his MO for those guys. Even though they should have been higher on the cards, it's just what he did, Vince.
And it doesn't matter if you're like John. I agree with John. It's where you fall in that category. Meaning, are you a curtain jerker? Are you a mid carder in the beginning, or you're like the upper mid card? Because it doesn't matter, man. You could be main event, semi main event, as long as you're up to that at that level, you're fine. It's when you fucking curtain jerk or you fucking you're not treated with that utmost respect. So I just think it doesn't matter if he's a mid carder, he still has a lot to bring, especially to teach other students of the game.
No. That's not what I'm saying. I was saying
Just let
how
me
he
finish.
looked. Sorry.
I've been in the business long enough to know this. I'm just saying that they would use him to, I just think that if they don't use him in the full capacity as in a main eventer, that I could see him in the upper mid card with the perfect and all that stuff. Again, it's just a speculatory because he's dead, but I could see him being utilized at that level, even if it's not main event category. It'll be like a mid card or right there. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, fair enough.
Now, what were you going to say? Finish what you was going to say.
No, I was just saying, like, for me, I think they would have, as what you guys were saying, they would have brought him back, maybe put him in a match against Austin or Rock, but like wouldn't have seen they would have given him a lengthy run in the main event, especially at the time where like WWE, like, you know what I mean? Like they would have brought him back for maybe a quick spot, maybe a pay-per-view or two against Austin. And then like I think it would have been like matches against like Jericho and that sort of upper mid card.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I see. Unless he fucking knocked it out the park and they're like, yo, we have to make a fucking long storyline with him. In regards to whatever Rick I think he would have had a real solid. I'm not saying he couldn't have a solid match with The Rock. I just think storyline wise, due to Stone Cold, the way he is and how Rude is, I think it would have been an awesome match in regards to, I don't know, visually, I just could see it just being way better than the Rock and Rude. What do you think, John?
I actually
what do you think, Chris?
I was just gonna say I could have seen Undertaker versus Rude being fucking money, to be honest, because like, yeah, Rude, the character, putting the faces of opponents and their wives on their trunks, and around that time was the same sort of time where they had like Taker's wife, I think her name was Sarah at the time.
Yeah, Sarah with the
starting to be involved in angles. I think that would have been a perfect spot for Rude to sort of make a return in and just try and mind fuck Taker. You know what I mean? Like the bad, dark motherfucker just going in there and just being like, having his wife and stuff like that, which they kind of did do with Paige, but I think Rude could have, that could have been a lot better.
I can't remember, was Undertaker the American Badass or was he Taker?
American Badass.
Oh yeah, so I could see that happening. I totally forgot about Taker.
99, he was the gothic Taker.
I think it would have been more realistic, not realistic, but more visually like I could, because like I said, the American Badass gimmick and visually, because then if he's playing the Undertaker, he wouldn't have Sarah because he's playing the dead man.
No. Yeah.
So there's not good story. I'm not saying it's not a good story. I could just see it building up with the other version, so I could see that. I don't know. What do you think, John?
That would have been awesome because Paige as DDP, more of a babyface to me, and playing that stalker role was kind of like a little out of character. Imagine if it was Rude, it would have been perfect. Like this asshole heel that you think of as an asshole heel, playing the stalker would have been awesome. And they would have worked well together too. Because for some reason, Taker didn't want to really work with DDP. I'm sure he would have loved to work with Rude.
Yeah, and I could visually see Rude because he's so narcissistic in regards that all the women want him, ladies love him, girls adore him, that I could see him cutting promos of like, yeah, deep down inside you, you want me, you think of me, even when you look at your husband, you fantasize being with me and all this bullshit. So yeah, it would have definitely been some type of, almost like remember like with Pillman kidnapping and drugging Tracy,
Marlena.
Yeah, drugging her. I mean, I could visually see that type of angle of Rude doing some gimmick like that and getting Undertaker hot. You know what I mean? Like I could see that. Yeah, and so we're at the Holiday Inn. Just come if you want your wife back. And then he shows up and then he sees his wife in the bed. And where's Rick Rude? Rick Rude comes out the closet, hits him with a fucking that gimmick he hit. What was that fucking bendy? That he hits him?
Yeah.
Ultimate Warrior in the back of the head and shit, caught his hair in the fucking and that must have ripped some hair out. But I could see that, man. I could see that as a big major angle, and Undertaker's up there. So
Yeah.
it doesn't matter if they're mid card or not. It's just when you wrestle the Undertaker, it's still a main event status in my eyes.
Yeah, I
And,
agree.
but I mean, like I said, I mean, could have, would have, should have. I mean, like I said, I wish he was still around. I mean, because the possibilities would have been endless. So many different storylines, so many different angles. I mean, it's just like I said, it's a sheet that just goes a mile to have Rude in your corner to. I don't know. They're good stories, man. Rick Rude had a lot on the table.
He was the
No.
man.
All right, Pierce, what do you think, man? I mean,
Yeah, you got the Rude on the corner of your mic there. It says Rude. So what do you think about Rude?
yeah.
Man, you know what? Like, for me, I've always had a thing for heels, man. I think heels are some of the coolest people in like heels to me are the coolest shit in wrestling to me, and that's what I always resonated even as a kid. And that was just something about Rude, man. He just like his aura, his how he presented himself. He was like. I put him, Scott Hall, as like just two of probably the best heels of that generation, man. They were just bad motherfuckers, did things which were out of the box, which we hadn't seen in the business, before then. Haven't really seen it happen since then. And I think that even like it's just been, a lot of people can go back and look at Rude and take so much away from it, from his in ring, from the way he cut his promos, from the way that he presented himself as a heel. He was a fucking piece of shit, but he looked the part. You know what I mean? Guys would be jealous of that shit, going, look at this fucking piece of shit with those fucking 8-pack abs, the fucking muscles. You know what I mean? Like, and the women, with the Tom Selleck mustache and all that shit. I think for that time, man, he was the perfect foil.
Well, and like I said, I just don't. I don't know. In my eyes, man, I would never have my wife or my girlfriend in the business because I just, especially those type of angles, because it goes too far, and I wouldn't do it. I would have got some girl to pretend she's my wife or girlfriend, so it won't get to that level because I don't know. I just getting your wife involved in the business just causes problems in my eyes. So
Hey, look at Cheryl Roberts. Remember, Rude had Cheryl Roberts on his tights when he's feuding with Jake.
yeah, didn't Jake get hot about that?
Oh yeah.
But it was fucking awesome. I mean, he took it personal, but yeah. I mean, see, that's the thing, man. It might not be big for other people, but those things might strike a nerve to and that hit, Jake.
But it's funny that Rude wouldn't at least go to him and say, "Hey, this is what I'm going to do," or "This is what I want to do. Are you cool with it?"
Well, I think it was one of the things where he was just like, "I'm doing it anyway. I already had the tights made,"
That's probably
So I'm sure
smart.
Jake was probably like, "Oh, you didn't ask me? Are you ready? You just did it?" Like that kind of thing.
And
Apparently, Cheryl and Jake might be getting back together in 2022. As crazy as that might sound.
That is crazy. But just curiosity, when he ripped the tights off of Rick Rude, was it, I'm not saying a shoot, but was it a peacemaker because he was hot about it?
Ooh, maybe. Yeah, I never thought about it. Maybe. Yeah.
I mean, I'm just curious because I'm like, oh man, okay, my bad. You know what? How about this? You ripped the tights off me,
Right. Yeah. Yep.
So I was just curious. I wonder how they covered his gimmick and was he wearing a thong and stuff when that? Because grabbing those tights, man, you grab the wrong string, rip them off. You rip it off that thong. I'm just curious. Like he was doing that as a peace offering. Again, I don't know. Just wondering. Pierce, what do you think? You think he ripped them off because it was a peace offering?
He was just thinking about Rude without his tights. That's what he was just thinking about.
Oh, well, he had ED, man, so you can't really see much. He had issues. So
no, look, I think it probably was in a certain aspect, but I think maybe it was just Jake shooting on him like, "Oh, fuck this," and seeing red. To be honest, like if he wasn't aware of the angle and it just sort of happened out there as it happened, man, fuck, like what I mean, to bring someone's shoot wife into a fucking storyline like that and not have their blessing on it, Rude deserved to get his ass kicked, bro. Like, to be honest.
Well, I mean, like I said, I love Rude's tights. They always, gave people. It just made people laugh.
Yeah.
And I mean, he always took it to the next level. In regards to that, so I just loved it. I mean, I wonder who did his tights though. That's just a curiosity. What do you think, Piers? Who you do? Yeah, I mean, John. Who do you think did his tights? Was it the?
I don't know. I'm sure you can find out because now all these people are famous for doing the tights and making the stuff and the robes and everything. I don't remember who it was offhand. I'm sure we could probably look it up or
Find
something.
out.
Well, I
Yeah,
mean, I know
But yeah.
RVD. I knew RVD did. Had somebody do his tights, so it wasn't. It was just somebody personally. That's how Ryback was able to get his tights done because you found out who RVD was going through.
RVD was using the same guy Warrior was using.
Yeah, okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Maybe it was the same guy that was doing Rudes.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I mean, if I do get back into the business and I start wearing tights, your Pierce, is it okay if I use your picture to put myself on? You put you on my tights, So I just, so just just want to get you're here to give us the guarantee.
Oh, he's gone. You offended him. He's gone. Look at that. He's pissed. He didn't like you calling him a little gnome. Oh, he's back.
Him and DeVito on one side of my leg. That's awesome. But anyway, man, I mean, what's your final thoughts, Pierce?
Man, final thoughts. A guy that passed away at 40 years of age, way too soon. But also a guy that had a tremendous and contributed tremendous amount to the wrestling business. A guy that came in and, as I said before, was able to do something that was different, that was unique, was able to generate heat from that audience. And say the thing about the tights that Jake didn't know about it, but as a heel, what better way to get yourself fucking heat to go after the babyface and insulting his wife? It's kind of like a little bit of cheap heat in a way, but to add the dynamic of adding his wife's face to the crutch of his tights, I thought it was a brilliant move. It's definitely one way to get a crowd to be against you and to sort of any sort of potential of him being like a tweener at that stage or anything. I think that would have really solidified, hey, no, I'm not a good guy. I'm not someone you're going to cheer. And I think that did it for a lot of ways. I think that Rude, to me, I think he was one of the coolest motherfuckers in the business. It's just very, very sad that we lost him at 40 years of age. I definitely think he would have made, if he wasn't able to get back in the ring and have perform again as a wrestler, I think he would have done great as a manager. I also think he would have done great as a commentator as well. Like those times of listening to him on ECW, where like Joey Styles was the voice of ECW. Like there was no one else needed. Joey could go in there and call a pay-per-view, a weekly show, whatever it is. And I think that with Rude slotting in there, like it felt organic. It felt natural. It sounded natural. It didn't sound like, oh shit. Now like Styles like, oh fuck, now I gotta sit here, I gotta wait for this motherfucker to talk, get involved. Like the dynamic of the two really set out well. And I think it's Rude's understanding of the business and seeing how that product was and how he injected himself into that commentary team. I think he was a pretty talented announcer, to be honest with you.
John?
For me, Rude, one of my all-time favorites. I loved him. When you think about pro wrestlers and like guys you think of being like wrestlers, it's like guys like Macho Man, guys like Rick Rude. Those guys are wrestlers. They have the look, they have the talk, they're legit tough. They could shoot if you need be. They have awesome tights. They do the full presentation. They invest in themselves. They know what it is to be a pro wrestler and a sports entertainer. They know how to do both. Rude was an awesome worker in the ring. Glad to see he's in the WWE Hall of Fame, although of course, like all those guys, I wish they were alive and somehow were able to be in the Hall of Fame, and wish he didn't die so early. I mean, 40, Jesus Christ, I mean, way, way, way too soon to pass away. But absolute huge legend in the business. To me, one of those perfect pro wrestlers that can do it all. 5-tool player. I love Rick Rude. To me, one of the all-time best. I mean, he just was unbelievable. If you just even go back into all the matches, he feud with Warrior, feud with Sting. He had some awesome matches in Japan with Chono and Hase. WCW had legendary matches with Ricky Steamboat and Dustin Rhodes and the Boss, Big Boss Man. And he was going to start this nice little feud with Vader, and had some good matches with Ron Simmons. So, I mean, I can go on and on and on. I love Rick Rude. He was awesome. And to me, one of the guys you would say, like, if you could build a pro wrestler, if there was like a mold that you could build, you could probably start with Rude and go from there.
Well, you know what? I mean, like I said, Rick Rude was a tremendous athlete. I mean, he always caught the eye of, he always caught my eye. I mean, when I first saw him, like, I think it was in 1985 in CWF, where he was being managed by, I want to say Percy Pringle, and Gordon Soley was just calling his matches and stuff like that. That's even it's just compliment on top of compliment. Like you said, he had Percy Pringle, he had Gordon Soley calling this match. He won the title. He was holding the title at the time. And like I said, his talent was just still raw, but you could see that it was something that was going to blossom to something to the next level. His body was good, but not as great as it was through the years. But still, you could just see the potential in the guy. And he always caught my eye when I was a kid. And like I said, he was just tremendous athlete. I mean, like I said, he could have had a lot to offer. He could have been right now. He could have been alive, being training people at the WWE Performance Center. He could have, give people advice. I mean, he's just a lot of talent that was not wasted, but just lost because a lot of people in this business could have benefited from his knowledge to be a heel, to cut a promo, to do heel work. So again, I mean, my final thoughts is just that he was, like I said, just like every wrestler, he's gone too soon. The saddest thing in his life is his wasted talent just from the movie Bronx Tale, and I mean, I just wish he was still around to just give that knowledge to a lot of the boys. And for that, we're on the 1 hour mark.
We are. I think this is a perfect time to wrap it up. I think this has been a great part 2 to our original episode last week on Rick Rude, covering it off. Amazing career, amazing performer. But, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to get an exclusive first look at all episodes of Wrestling with Tragedy, go to russosbrand.com, patreon.com/RussoTWC. Subscribe today. You get an exclusive first showing of all Wrestling with Tragedy episodes. You can also find us on Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, wherever you get your podcast, wherever you find us. Make sure you subscribe. Give us a 5-star review because we much appreciate it and helps us out a great deal. But, gentlemen, again, it's been an absolute pleasure. Take us away, Angel.
All right, man. For all you fans out there, thanks for the support. Thanks for following us, giving us the love, the hugs with WWT. We thank you. We appreciate you. And John, like always, is always a pleasure listening to your plethora of knowledge. Because like I said, even though I've been in the business for 30 years, you always come out with some stuff that I'm not even aware of. So, I mean, like I said, I appreciate you bringing those things up because it still keeps me young in the game. Because I'm like, I don't know everything. Because sometimes I do think I know everything, but then when you say something, I'm like, shit, I didn't know that. So it keeps my interest alive in this sport. Because like I said, you're a plethora of knowledge and you're a great benefit to the show. Piers, you're okay. Anyway, to this day, we see you guys next week. Lots of love again from me, Piers, John. Peace out.
Peace.
Fuck you, Angel.
This is Vince Russo's The Brand.